Hey everybody, how's it going? This is a little video talking about my Conan 2D20 extension for Fantasy Grounds. Obviously, Conan 2D20, Modiphius game system, RPG. And of course, everybody knows what Fantasy Grounds is. Otherwise, you're not watching this video, right? Okay. So I've been working on a little extension for the game. I just got into the game and I really like it, and I really like Fantasy Grounds. So there was another Conan extension made a couple years ago by the Jolly GM. I think he started it, and then a gentleman by the name of Keith Johnson kind of elaborated on it a little bit. And but I don't think they're working on it anymore. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But they inspired me to do my own, and so some of the ideas in mine are taken from theirs. So I want to give them credit for that. And so let's load this up real quick. Take a look. So as you can see, it's built on the core RPG and the more core rule set. So you have to have more core rule set in order to run this one. And I've called mine Conan 2D20 theme. Whoops, we want to leave that on. So I'll start that. And I'll make sure to black out all my personal information on that screen, obviously, before I do this. All right, so as you can see, I've changed graphics up a little bit. All the Windows frame stuff I've changed up to my personal liking. Hope other people like it as well. Here's your campaign setup window that pops up. Here's the intro for the extension. Again, I want to give proper credit to the Jolly GM and Keith Johnson. The momentum and doom tokens that you're going to see in here are originally done by the Righteous GM. And before I do any kind of like releasing the extension or any of the modules that contain that artwork, I'll make sure to contact him and get his approval for me to use those. Being an artist, I mean that's my trade. I'm an artist. I don't want to get involved with. I know what it's like for people to use your art without any consent. So I'm all about that. A little disclaimer: I'm not a programmer. I kind of just futz with it, right? I do know a little XML, so that helped me a little bit, but for Lua stuff, no idea. So there's been a lot of helpful advice and pointing the way from some people on the Fantasy Grounds forums under the workshop. And Damned is one of them. He has some really good video tutorials about doing it, and he's given me some feedback and some helpful advice on the forum, so I appreciate that as well. So let's take a look at this particular thing. As you can see, I've just hidden the dice pool. I found out where you can modify the dice pool in the desktop panels, or I think it's desktop panels and desktop frames XML. And I tried modifying it, and I actually shrank it a little bit, and you could change the graphics on it and stuff. I don't know exactly how you go about removing it. I'm sure you could if you just do like a replace on your merge or something like that, or delete. But there really is no need to, because if you don't know, you can go into the options. If you're using the more core rule set, you can go to the options, and they have an option right here, dice pool. And you can just turn it off. So if I turn it on, you can see it's still right there, but I don't need it, so I just turn it off and it's gone. And I've adjusted where the 3D dice get placed on the desktop, and I removed all the ones that are not used in the Conan rule system, because all Conan really uses is a 1d20 or a d20 and a d6. And I left this little special dice in here, I don't know, just for looks and flavor. You could remove it if people request it, but it doesn't really hurt anything. Maybe you want to use it for something, I don't know, something. Maybe you want to use it for your own little homebrew stuff, I don't know. So first thing here is I've added a menu item In the sidebar, and it's called Doom, but as you can see, it's a Doom and momentum tracker for the GM. Now, currently, this only shows up for on the GM side or the host side. I'm contemplating whether or not to have it show up for the client side as well, because does the client really need it? Well, they need to manipulate the group momentum pool, but that's all they really need to do. So if you click on that, it opens up this little window, and you can move it all around. Okay, and all it does is track group momentum and the Doom pool, which is the GM's Doom pool and the players, the party group momentum. Right now, it's you can interact and use it. These little number containers. You can add to them by double clicking on them, and it shows you your add-in momentum. Or you can click on the button and spin the momentum. And in the same way with Doom, you can add to the Doom, okay, or you can spin the Doom. Now, when you start a campaign or whatever, these are normally going to be set to 0, okay, and anybody who plays Conan, you know how the GM starts with Doom, equivalent to the fortune points of the players that are participating in the campaign. So, you can just add to it whatever that number is, and go from there. Group momentum is at 0 until the players start playing and develop group momentum. Now, group momentum can't go above 5, or can't go above 6, I'm sorry, because you automatically lose 1 every turn. So, and it'll tell you if you have too much. Okay, so that's how that little window works, and it's for the GM pretty much. And so we have that. So let's go to characters. So I have a couple characters here. This one was generated using the Modiphius automated character generator online. So created this character, and now the character sheet, although it has this information in it, it's not automated like maybe the D&D 5e rule set is, or some other rule sets. It's not fully automated, meaning I can't drag classes over or homelands, stuff like that, and it automatically populates the necessary values. My particular one, you can do that for like the weapons frame, but it only populates the name of the weapon. You have to manually input this information, and I'll get to that really quick. But as you can see, you got your fortune points, you got your token over here, and your portrait. You have your homeland that you can input based on your character sheet that you generate, or your character you generate, your archetype experience, and then your spin experience. This is your weapons frame, or your weapon attacks frame. And as you can see, I already have one in here. You can manually add one if you want, just by clicking that button and you add it. You type in the information. Or you can open up the items menu, or the items category. And as you can see, I've already started inputting some, and I plan on inputting all the ones that I can before I release the extension. But I've got them separated into armor, kits, and weapons. If you guys know of any other ones that need to be added, any other categories of items, feel free to let me know, and I will do that. But for right now, this is what I have in here. So let's say you have a weapon, you want to add a new weapon to the guy, and he's going to use it for attacks or whatever. All you have to do is just drag them over here, and it'll populate the name. And like I said, you'll have to input your own information, but you can click on the link and get that information right here. So it's got the reach. Let's see what the quality. We've got vicious, vicious 1. Have reach at 2. The grip is unbalanced. I wonder why I don't have the grip in here. That's one-handed. I'll just put that in there right now. Combat dice for the cutlass is 4d6. And the combat dice modifier, based on the brawn, it's 9. I think that's 1 like that one. So there we go. So as you can see, you put them in there. It has the dice roller for attacks, and it's based off of, calculates, just adds this number, the combat dice modifier, to the number of combat dice. Does it automatically for you. So here we're rolling 5d6. Tells you how much damage you've done. 5, 3 regular damage with 2 with effects. So a total of 5 damage and 2 effects. Well, you get the vicious one, so you get to add another point of damage, basically. So that's how that works. Oh, and you can add more in here. And although, yeah, another one. Let's put a dagger in here. And although the scroll bar doesn't show up, and that's because this frame, this container right here, is not big enough horizontally or vertically to show it, you can still scroll through it with the middle mouse button. Okay. All right. So the next frame on this first page is stress and harm. So you got your vigor and your wounds. That's your physical stress and harm. And then this is your mental, resolve and trauma, and then your courage. And these are all, you can just click in here and manually manipulate them. And the next frame is armor and soak. I wish it was, you could drag and drop armor here and it would automatically populate it for you, but you cannot. I don't know how to do that, and if anybody does, that's cool. But you can add those numbers in there manually. This part here is based on Jolly GM and Keith Johnson's work on the previous incarnations of the Conan extension. And I just found it to be really helpful. It's really efficient, and I liked it, so I incorporated it into mine, where it lists the attributes, and then the skills related to those attributes are listed underneath them in their own little separate frame. And these numbers are all manually adjustable, and you can see that if I adjust those numbers, it adjusts the target numbers, because expertise affects the target number. It's the attribute plus the expertise in that skill equals your target number, right? And then your focus, like, if your focus doesn't adjust that number, but you can input that there too. The die rollers, all the dice rollers are more core stuff that I've used and implemented in here. And all you have to do is you double click and you get your result down here. And it also has a spot for untrained, because anytime you do a skill where you have no expertise or no focus, or you do an attribute test, those all go as untrained, and that means if you roll a 19, you get a complication, and it tells you right here if you roll any untrained complications, which basically means that if you roll a 19, that's going to pop up here, right? But it only matters if you're doing an untrained skill check. That's all it really means. So, and that's this right here. Now down here, this is something that's still a work in progress. I'm still working on it, but it does work to the point that you could use it in a game. And that is tracking your earned momentum, the number of dice you're going to roll, and if you buy Doom. Okay? So let's go Doom first. So if I click this button, to say spin doom, what I'm actually doing is buying doom. And eventually I want it to, if I click this button, it'll add to this number here. Right now it doesn't. But what it does do is it adds, it tells you you're buying or spending doom, and it adds to your die roll number. Okay? So if I do that, oh, you can't do it more than 5 times because you can't have more than 5 dice to roll. So, and it tells you how much you spend. And right now what would happen is the GM would just go in here and say, okay, he spent 3 doom here, so I'm going to add 3 more doom here. So there you go. I've added 3 doom to the pool, the doom that he spent. Okay. So then you could go ahead and roll your dice. You got 5 dice, doing a melee check. Boom. Rolls 5 dice. Tells you what's going on here. Okay. Got 6 successes. That's pretty good. So that takes me to the next point. If I rolled this, I only needed a difficulty 1 skill check. That means I would have generated 5 momentum. So that means I can go over here and double click this window and add 5 to my earned momentum. And it shows me I've added 5 momentum. Okay. So let's say I want to spend that momentum. I just click it. It goes away and it tells me I've spent it. Okay. In the future, I'd like to have it where if I end my turn, I still have 3 earned momentum. I like to be able to take that number and add it to the group pool and subtract it from here. I haven't got that far yet. Thanks to Damned, he was telling me that I'm going to have to use out-of-bound messaging to do that, and I haven't fully grokked that yet. So that's beyond me right now. So, but I'll work on it, see if I can't figure it out. In the meantime, I think this would work. Another thing here on this window here is that if I spend doom for something other than adding die roll or adding dice to my roll, I can spend it and it tells me I've spent it, but I don't want this number to be 3, so I just click this dice here and it'll take it away. And it tells me I've taken 1 die away from my die roll. Okay, that's the first page. Second page is talents. Right now, under the abilities button, I have talents, and I have quite a few in here from the books. And if you click on one, let's look under survival talents, which is an awareness talent tree. I can click on one of these. Ooh, Born Wild. Looky here. This is what Born Wild is. Now these were done early on, so I don't have like prerequisites listed or how much it costs to do. The later ones I've done do have that, and I plan on adding that to these. But right now, some of the older ones that I added don't have it. But so if this guy had this talent, all you have to do is go over here, drag it in here, and it'll add it. Okay. And then if you want to see, I don't know what strong back is, let me check that out. I just click the link and it'll tell me what it is. So that's the way that works. Then the spells frame, you can add to it right now, and it just adds it normally. But that's not the way I think it should be done. I think it should be drag and drop, much like the weapons are for spells. So I've yet to create a sidebar menu item which lists spells for Conan 2D20, and I think that should be added, and I'll probably do that. So that's another thing I've yet to do. It's on the list. The creature's frame should really be called mounts, because that's what it's for. It's for if you have any mounts, like a mule or a riding horse or a war horse or something like that. That's what that's for. And that'll probably display a lot like an NPC window does. So, and I'll show you the NPCs here in a minute. The background tab is just that. It's backgrounds. I have it abbreviated right now because at first I couldn't fit it in there. But I managed to fit belongings in its own tab, so I think I'll change that to backgrounds. But you got your first frame here is just your caste, nature, gender, age, height, weight, trait, education, personality, your renown, and your standing, and that's all manually inputted. Your language frame is drag and drop acceptable frame, except I don't have a language list yet, so I just manually enter them, and then obviously it doesn't have the ability to, say I'm going to speak Kushite in the chat. I don't have that ability in there. Next frame is appearance, and that's just your visual appearance of your character, and that's all. You just go in here and type, right? So war story is the same way. War story is reflective of the war story when you generate your character, and you just type that in. And then your notes is just the player personal notes about your character. The belongings tab is pretty much straight from Core RPG. It's just drag and drop items, into that window, and it populates it with how many there are, what the weight is, and that updates your total encumbrance down here. If it's carried or not carried or equipped or whatever, and then of course the link to the item. And then your currency window set up for any kind of denomination you want to put in here. In Conan, it's gold. You just put it in here, and anything else you might have. So that's the character sheet for this particular extension. Now we go over some of these other things that I've put in here. The Doom tracker, you've seen that. Character list, obviously. Notes, and pretty much this is all just visual changes to the frame and stuff. Tables, I did add a table, and it's a hit location table. So for those of you who like to play Conan and use the hit location feature, I've added this table, and I based the chances. I tried to get close to what the original dice are. I don't know how close it is, but I like the way it's set up. But it's easily modified for anybody. You just click to unlock and then change it to your liking. And then of course you roll, and you only have to click it once. Sorry, I double clicked it. It'll tell you the location if you want to use that. If not, you don't have to. Under the story tab, everything that I've added in here has to do with the background of Hyboria, and then I've also added a player aid category, which right now only lists 4 items. I plan on adding more in there, but you can click on here and get the type of damage bonus. You can get momentum spins. List momentum spins here. Weapon qualities. Let's list most of the weapon qualities there. I think all of the weapon qualities. And then the fatigue, what justifies fatigue here. But I've also added like a background overview. So like if you want to check out Lands of the North, okay? So you can click on this, get this window here. Let's close this out. Get this here. So you can click on here and what's Old Gorm speak? What's that? It kind of tells you. It's all from the book. Oh, that reminds me. All of these things have links back to their top level of the tree. So you can go back to the Lands of the North. You can look at the Barbaric North. And under the Barbaric North it lists, I want to look at Nordheim, Asgard and Vanheim. So you can check that out. And then of course a link back to the top level, Barbaric North right here, or the next level up. So that's what the background overview is, and then the background details is, well, we just saw some of it, but you can go directly to it if you want. You know, you want to look at, I don't know, Stygia. Part of the Desert Kingdoms. So if I click on that, it'll take me back to Desert Kingdoms. So that's all in there right now. I think that's pretty much complete. Like I said, I'm going to add more player aids in here, and then anybody that uses this and want to use it for adventures and stuff like that, you can do that as well. You just click on new, or make a new category for the name of your adventure, and you know, do that. So that's the story. Quest would all be specific to your, you know, adventuring or whatever. Here's the NPCs. I've added some NPCs in. I plan on adding some more that are documented in the core rulebook and some of the supplements. You know, like Conan the Barbarian or the Mercenary or the Thief or whatever. But I have these categorized as beast, minions, toughened. I don't have any nemesis in here, but that'll be another category, nemesis. And then probably miscellaneous will be another category. But usually all the NPCs in Conan fall under these categories. So if we look at a toughened one right now, I only have the slaver in here, but you can see that he's a toughened NPC. He's got 2 standard dice, distress, and soak, which is his armor, courage, resolve, and vigor. His attacks frame, which is the same as the character one, where you can drag and drop weapons over here, and then you have to manually input the information. But the die roller works just like it does. You've got your attributes here for your NPC, and then your fields of expertise, that you know that the skills for NPCs in Conan work differently than they do for the players. They're kind of generalized, and so this takes that into account. So, and then it uses the die roller. Now, the one thing I noticed I was missing when I was doing this video was there's no way for the GM to reflect if he spends doom to add dice to his attack for the NPC, because this is just going to roll 2 no matter what. So I've got to figure out a way in order to do that, to add that extra for the NPC. So that's on the to-do list. So, and then under the notes tab for NPCs, it kind of lists maybe sometimes a description, sometimes what their tactics are, and then sometimes if they have special abilities, it'll be listed under here. So that's an NPC sheet that's generated already. If you add a new one, I would suggest, if you're doing it for Conan, you figure out what they are. You know, like, I'm going to add another toughened one, right? So I select that category, and then I add the add button. And then as you can see, here's a blank sheet. And then I'm going to choose a toughened, because you see minion class, I only have 1 dice. But if I go toughened, it adds 2. So then I'll add all the information in, put their weapon in, add any notes I need to add, and then just click locked, and you're ready to go. Okay, so that's the NPC sheet. Encounters is basically for your adventures or modules or whatever. So that's blank right now. I think I have a test one in here, but it's not relevant. The items, I briefly went over that, but I have it set out in categories like I mentioned. If you want to add a piece of armor, you just select the armor category. Select add your name. This is a blank sheet. Add your name. You can add item type. You can choose weapon. We're going to add armor, so we're going to select armor, but you can kits, miscellaneous. So we're going to select armor, and then we type in subtype. So like if it's, I don't know, heavy, and a detailed type is like, I don't know, plate. I don't think there. Yeah, there might be plate in Conan. I'm not sure. I have to look again. And then you add in all the pertinent information, cost, the encumbrance, the weight or whatever, the availability of the item. As you can see, these sections, this is your generic section, this is a generic section. This is for weapons, this is for armor, and this is for your kit. So armor would give your armor soak here, you put 2 in here. And then if that has armor qualities, you would add them here. And then under the notes, I always put like description. Oops. Learn how to spell. And I take it usually from the description in the books or whatever. And then I usually make this a header. Right? And then once you're done, armor quality, I don't have anything in front of me right now, but let's just say this is heavy. And then this is shirt, chain shirt. I don't know. Availability 1, encumbrance 2, right? And then we hit lock, and you can see it does all that, right? And there you have it there. You have a new item. Of course, you put the name there and stuff as well. And that's for armor. And then if you're doing weapon, I wouldn't do it under this category. I would go here and select weapon. And then go new. And then, choose weapon here. And then go and type in, weapon like axe, battle axe. Put the cost here, everything. And then this section right here is strictly for the weapons. And then you put the description down here, maybe what the weapon qualities do. That's what I've been doing. So, and that's what I've got going on here. So, let me delete this armor one. Okay. So, that's items. Parcels is pretty much for your adventure. Whenever you set up your adventure. Roles, this is the more core roles utility, and you set up custom rollers, things of that nature. I have this placeholder one in here because I was experimenting with it, so I'll make sure to delete that one once I go to release the extension. They'll all be gone. Then you got your locations here. That's a more core thing. Organizations. The abilities, you've seen some of that already. I have quite a few in here already. I plan on putting some more in here. Vehicles, I have the vehicle sheet. Thought about putting mounts in here, but I just thought it made more sense to put it under the NPC windows. So, and then you have your normal tokens window and the library. Obviously, all stuff that's inherent in Fantasy Grounds. So that's pretty much it. That's what I've been trying to get done and work on. It's been a nice exercise, helping me learn things like Lua and brush up on XML and things of that nature. But more importantly, to fix up Fantasy Grounds for Conan because I really enjoy playing it. I've also gotten into the Infinity RPG by Modiphius, which is also 2D20. So a lot of these elements could apply to that as well. So that's cool. Anybody wants to do that or whatever. And again, everybody's welcome to have input and participate if you want. I mean, I don't know how many Conan 2D20 players that are still left around in the Fantasy Grounds community, but if there are more and you'd like this or like to see it done better or whatever, hey man, feel free to let me know. So again, thanks for your time. I hope this was interesting enough that you might want to see more of it. Maybe I'm wasting my time because like I said before, Modiphius is said to be working on an official rule set for Fantasy Grounds. So if that's the case, I'm sure it's going to be done way better than what I could do. And so this will become obsolete. But in the meantime, I'll work with this. So thanks a lot. Appreciate your time. Bye.